Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtipraeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 24, the Philosophy of Sankhya, text number 21 onwards. So Krishna is explaining this Sankhya philosophy to Uddhavji and how to see everything in the universe connected with Krishna. Viranmaya sadhyamano loka kalpa vikalpakaha panchatvaya visheshaya kalpate bhuvanehi saha. I am the basis of the universal form which displays endless variety through the repeated creation, maintenance and destruction of the planetary systems. Originally containing within itself all planets in the dormant state, my universal form manifests the varieties of created existence by arranging the coordinated combination of the five elements. So he is the basis of the universal form, and universal form we have seen in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam also in second canto how everything is in the universal form. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the word Maya refers to Lord in his form as eternal time. Anne praliyate martyam annam dhana suliyate dhana bhumo praliyante bhumir gandhe praliyate apsu praliyate gandha apascha swagune rase liyate jyotishi raso jyoti rupe praliyate rupam vayo sacha sparshe liyate sopi cha ambare ambram shabda tanmatra indriyani swayonishu योनिर्वैकारike सौम्य लीयते मनसीश्वरे शब्दो भूतादिम अपियेति भूतादिर्महति प्रभु स लीयते महान स्वेषु गुणेषु गुणस्फुटमः ते व्यक्ते संप्रलीयन्ते तत्काले लीयते अव्यये कालो माया मय जीवे जीवात्मनि मयजे आत्मा केवल आत्मस्थो विकल्पापाय लक्षणः. At the time of annihilation, the mortal body of the living being becomes merged into food. Food merges into the grains, and the grains merge back into the earth. Wow. The earth merges into its subtle sensation, fragrance. Fragrance merges into water, and water further merges into its own quality, taste. That taste merges into fire, which merges into form. Form merges into touch, touch merges into ether. Ether finally merges into the sensation of sound. The senses all merge into their own origins, the presiding demigods, and they, O gentle Uddhav, merge into the controlling mind, which itself merges into false ego in the mode of goodness. Sound becomes one with false ego in the mode of ignorance, and all-powerful false ego, the first of all the physical elements, merges into the total nature. The total material nature, the primary repository of the three basic modes, dissolve into the modes. These modes of nature then merge into the unmanifest form of nature, and that unmanifest form merges into time. Time merges into the Supreme Lord present in the form of the omniscient Mahapurusha, the original activator of all living beings. That origin of all life, merges into me, the unborn Supreme Soul, who remains alone, established within himself. It's from him that all creation and annihilation are manifested. So we studied how everything comes into being, how the creation takes place, and now how the dissolution takes place. Everything goes back. We saw how everything comes from water, from ether comes air, from air comes fire, from fire comes water, and from water comes earth when something is added. How it is added, that's Krishna's creation. And then when it just comes with the time element, and when the time element starts going away, it starts going back and back and back, and everything merges into time. See how all the energy, we all are basically energies with nothing else. And the energies, when he starts removing them, and they just stop appearing, they start disappearing. The annihilation of the material world is a reversal of the process of creation, and ultimately everything is merged to rest within the Supreme Lord, who remains full in his absolute position, but doesn't everything doesn't merge, or when we are in the Supreme Lord, we are not like the whole universe as it is that we know of, all the planets and all the life on every planet going back into the Supreme Lord. They just lose their existence, and then become Pradhan. Pradhan becomes time, and the merges into time, and then goes back into Mahapurusha. Evam anvikshmanasya katham vaikalpiko brahma manaso hridi tishteta vyomni varkodaya tamaha. Just as the rising sun removes the darkness of the sky, similarly, this scientific knowledge of cosmic annihilation removes all illusory duality from the mind of a serious student. Even if illusion somehow enters his heart, it cannot remain there. So this is again another Shrutifal of learning this. Just as the brilliant sun removes all darkness from the sky, a clear understanding of the knowledge spoken by Lord Krishna to Uddhava removes all ignorance concocted by the material mind. One will then no longer accept the material body as a self. Even with such illusion temporarily manifests within one's consciousness, it will be driven away by the resurgence of one's spiritual knowledge. So once the knowledge is there, even if illusion comes, it will go away very soon. Esha Sankhya Vidhi Prokta Sanjay Granthi Bhedan Prati Lomanu Lomabhyam Paravar Drishya Maya. Thus I, the perfect seer of everything material and spiritual, has spoken this knowledge of Sankhya, which destroys the illusion of doubt by scientific analysis of creation and annihilation. Lord Sri Krishna has explained that the material mind accepts and rejects many different concepts of life, generating innumerable false arguments about the actual process of perfection. But a person who takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can see everything with clear intelligence. One who understands how the Supreme Lord creates and annihilates can be liberated from material bondage and devote himself to the eternal service of the Supreme Lord. So this is the benefit of understanding the Sankhya system, or how everything is coming into being and everything is annihilated and resting in the Supreme Lord at the time of annihilation. So one who understands this, he devotes himself to the eternal service of the Lord, because why waste time in serving the illusory energy of the Lord when everything is going to be destroyed? Whatever we see is anyway. Thus ends the purport to 11th canto, 24th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Philosophy of Sankhya. So we still have time, so we can start the next chapter, 25th, the three modes of nature and beyond. So further speaking about the creation and the three modes, now how three modes work. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Gunanam sammishranam pumanayena yatha bhavet tanme purushvaryedam upadharya shamsatah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O best among men, please listen as I describe to you how the living entity attains a particular nature by association with individual material modes. The word asammishra indicates that which is not mixed with anything else. Lord Krishna now explains how each of the three material modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, acting separately, causes a conditioned soul to manifest a particular type of ignorance. The living entity is ultimately transcendental to the modes of nature, being part and parcel of Lord Krishna. But in conditioned life, he manifests material qualities. This is described in the following verses. Okay. Shamo damastiti ksheksha stapa satyam daya smriti tushtis tyagos priha shraddha rir deyadi swanirvriti kam iha madastrishna stamba ashir bhidda sukham mad utsaho yasha pritir hasim viryam balodyamaha krodho loba nritam hinsa yancha damba klamakli Kali Shok Moksha Darti Nidrasha Bhiranudima Sattvasya Rajas Chaitasa Tamasascha Nupurvasha Vrityu Varnita Prayaha Sannipatam Matho Shrinu. Mind and sense control, tolerance, discrimination, sticking to one's prescribed duty, truthfulness, mercy, careful study of the past and future, satisfaction in any condition, generosity, renunciation of sense gratification, faith in the spiritual master, being embarrassed at improper action, charity, simplicity, humbleness, and satisfaction in oneself are qualities of the mode of goodness. Material desire, great endeavor, audacity, dissatisfaction, even in gain, false pride, praying for material advancement, considering oneself different and better than others, sense gratification, rash eagerness to fight, a fondness for hearing oneself praised, the tendency to ridicule others, advertising one's own prowess and justifying one's action by one's strength are qualified qualities of the mode of passion. Intolerant, anger, stinginess, speaking without scriptural authority, violent hatred, living aside, hypocrisy, chronic fatigue, quarrel, lamentation, delusion, unhappiness, depression, sleeping too much, false expectations, fear, and laziness constitute the major qualities of the mode of ignorance. Now, please hear about the combination of these three modes. So there could be different combinations also. Sannipastvaham iti mameti uddhavyamati vyavahara sannipato mano matrendriya subhihi. My dear Uddhav, the combination of all three modes is present in the mentality of I and mine. The ordinary transactions of this world, which are carried out through the agency of the mind, the objects of perception, the senses, and the vital layers of the physical body, are also based on the combination of the modes. So the illusory concept of I and mine occurs by the mixture of three modes of nature. A person in goodness may feel, I am peaceful. One in the passion may think, I am lusty. And one in ignorance may think, I am angry. Similarly, one may think, my peace, my lust, or my anger. One completely absorbed in the mentality of being peaceful could not work in the material world. He would lack any impulse to perform activity. Similarly, one absorbed in lust would be blinded without at least a tinge of peacefulness or restraint. So one absorbed in lust means he will be working passionately and no peace, no restraint. This is the time we work, make money, invent something, discover something, and move on. We need to achieve something. This people, passionate people, this is what they do. One overwhelmed with anger could not function properly in the material world without the mixture of other qualities. Thus, we find that a material mode does not occur in a pure, isolated form, but rather is mixed with other modes, thereby making possible normal functioning within this world. Ultimately, one should think, I am an eternal servant of Lord Krishna, and my only possession is loving service to the Lord. This is the pure state of consciousness beyond the material modes of nature. But in the material modes, there are different permutations, combinations of the three modes acting all the time. And not just different permutations, different degrees, or like they say, different shade of different modes. That also happens. So it's just this is how Krishna has created the color palette of the material world. And this is how everybody is put into the three modes. Dharme charthe cha kame cha yada suparinishtita gunanam sannikarshyoyam shraddharati dhanavaha. When a person devotes himself to religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, the faith, wealth, and sensual enjoyment obtained by his endeavors display the interaction of the three modes of nature. So religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification are situated within the modes of nature. And the faith, wealth, and enjoyment obtained by them clearly reveal the particular situation of a person within the modes of nature. Pravritti lakshane nishtha puman yarhi grihashrame swadharme chanutishtheta gunanam samitirhisa. When a man desires sense gratification, being attached to family life, and when he consequently becomes established in religious and occupational duties, the combination of the modes of nature manifest. So according to Srila Sridhar Swami, religious duties performed for promotion to heaven are understood to be in the mode of passion. Those performed to enjoy ordinary family life are in the mode of ignorance. And those performed selflessly to fulfill one's occupational duty in the Varnashram system are in the mode of goodness. The Lord has thus explained how mundane religiosity is manifest within the modes of nature. So religiosity is also in different modes. Purusham sattva samyuktam anumiya chamadibhi kamadibhi rajo yuktam krodhades tamasa yutam. A person exhibiting qualities such as self-control is understood to be predominantly in the mode of goodness. Similarly, a passionate person is recognized by his lust, and one in ignorance is recognized by qualities such as anger. Yada bhajati mam bhaktya nirapeksha sukarmabhi tam sattva prakritim vidya purusham striyam eva va. Any person, whether man or woman, who worships me with loving devotion, offering his or her prescribed duties unto me, without material attachment, is understood to be situated in goodness. But one continues to perform bhakti, can go beyond goodness also, beyond the three modes. Brahmbhuyaya kalpate. And offering his or her prescribed duties unto me without material attachment. That is a key word. But the thing is, when we continue doing our services, devotional service, slowly, we'll come to the point of no material attachment. In the beginning, it might not be so, obviously. We have so many material desires. But slowly, Krishna removes everything, all material desires. Even if he fulfills those desires, he'll frustrate us before fulfilling. Yada ashish ashasya mam bhajeta sukarmabhi tam raja prakritim vidyat hinsam ashasya tamasam. When a person worships me by his prescribed duties with the hope of gaining material benefit, his nature should be understood to be in passion, and one who worships me with the desire to commit violence against others is in ignorance. And we also could be sometimes in goodness, sometimes in passion, sometimes in ignorance. That's also possible. Sattvam rajastama iti guna jivasya neva me chittaja yasu bhutanam sajjamano nivarjate. The three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, influence a living entity, but not me. Not me, never me. Manifesting within his mind, they induce the living entity to become attached to material bodies and other created objects. In this way, the living entity is bound up. The living entity is a marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, having the tendency to be overwhelmed by the Lord's illusory material energy. The personality of Godhead, however, is the absolute controller of illusion. Illusion can never control the Lord. Thus, the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, is the eternal object of service for all living beings who are eternally servants of the Lord. The three modes of nature manifest within the material energy. When a conditioned soul adopts a material mentality, the modes exert the influence within the jurisdiction of that mentality. But if one purifies one's mind in devotional service to the Lord, the modes of nature can no longer act upon him, since they have no influence on the spiritual platform. So the modes of nature, they work on the living entity only. Because we are the marginal potency, tatastha shakti. So we have the tendency to be overpowered by the Lord's illusory material energy. Although the material energy is technically it's under, it's lower, it's external, it's under the living entity. But we get covered over. But Krishna never does get covered over by his external energy. Yade taro jayet sattvam bhaswaram vishuddham shivam tada sukhena yujyet dharma jnanadi bhipuma. When the mode of goodness, which is luminous, pure, and auspicious, predominates over passion and ignorance, a man becomes endowed with happiness, virtue, knowledge, and other good qualities. So one can control one's mind and senses in the mode of goodness. Yada jayet tamah sattvam raja sangam vidachalam tada dukkhena yujeta karmana yashasa shriya. When the mode of passion, which causes attachment, separatism, and activity, conquers ignorance and goodness, a man begins to work hard to acquire prestige and fortune. Thus, in the mode of passion, he experiences anxiety and struggle. Yada jayed raja sattvam tamo mudam layam jadam yujeta shokamohabhyam nidriya hinsya shaya. When the mode of ignorance conquers passion and goodness, it covers one's consciousness and makes one foolish and dull. Falling into lamentation and delusion, a person in the mode of ignorance sleeps excessively, indulges in false hopes, and displays violence towards others. So this is the mode of ignorance. Yada chittam prasideta indriyanam cha nirvriti dehe abhayam mano asangam tattva sattvam vidhi mat padam. When consciousness becomes clear and the senses are detached from matter, one experiences fearlessness within the material world and detachment from the material mind. You should understand this situation to be the predominance of the mode of goodness, in which one has the opportunity to realize me. So then only one can try to realize once we are in the mode of goodness. So our practices of bhakti yoga, it should at least bring us to goodness, if not beyond. at least we should come to the mode of goodness. And then we can see all the wonderful qualities in the mode of goodness, wonderful activities one does in the mode of goodness. And we can see how much we are in goodness, how much or how or when we come into passion and when we get into ignorance. But we have to force ourselves, train ourselves. Cultivation has to be there, at least to remain in goodness, at least to remain in goodness. So then we can make further progress in bhakti. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day.